Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to, what is today? Is today Monday again? Monday morning, Sketch and Coffee Live, where we sketch and do a little ink and wash of the object, a random object, and then we talk little random facts about it. We are recording, music is playing. Turn it on, set us in the background. This is kind of a slow-paced, chill thing. This isn't something that is going to happen fast. We've got about 30 minutes we're going to work on this. This morning we have this may be too much light. I did install the lights last night. This may be too much light. But this morning we have this little Scarab Beetle that we're going to sketch out here. Little Egyptian scarab. Did a little reading up and documentary watching yesterday about Scarab Beetle. And it turns out Scarab Beetles are one of the oldest beetle families that include tens of thousands of members, subspecies, which is pretty cool. One of the members locally is the June bug. In my part of the world, June bugs are kind of a dull brown. In other parts of the U.S., June bugs are bright green. But I did not know that June bugs were part of the scarab family. Scarabs have a fanned out antennae. Is one of the things that makes them scarabs. They have two fanned out antennae. Usually the antennae have little Mickey Mouse gloves on the ends of them. And June bugs are part of that. Yes, that's exciting. But tens of thousands of species of scarabs. Worshipped in Egypt as representations of Ketri, the god that brings form to life. I gotta be careful of not drawing what I want to be or what I expect to be, and only drawing what I actually see. I find myself looking away and saying, oh yes, I know how to draw that. And of course it not being anything like what it really is. Plus when you do that, you lose position. You lose where it lines up on the object, especially since our object is a toy and not an actual scarab beetle. So we have to remember that. We as in me and you, if you're drawing along, I post a photo reference. I post a reference photo to my YouTube posts. I did not spritz the paints. My mom is in the chat reminding me to spritz the paints. I did not spritz the paints. And that's going to be very important very soon, so I'm glad she said something. Let me get past this one little part right here. I'm going to stop. I'm going to spritz the paints. It is too much light. I can see that it is washed out to the point that you can't tell what I'm doing. So I'm just going to turn this one off until we can figure that out. And I'm going to turn this one down just until we can figure it out. I need more light, but not at the expense of you not being able to see what I'm doing. Aziz, light! If you're Bruce Willis fans, you may be familiar with the Fifth Element movie. Where the Egyptologist is studying the Egyptian tomb. And he has a young boy standing in there holding up the light using reflective panels as they would have done back in ancient Egypt to direct the sunlight in. Speaking of ancient Egypt, the scarabs that the ancient Egyptians worshipped were dung beetles, what we call them today. And that may sound funny at first, but what we see is comedic little beetles rolling dung away. They saw as a path to the afterlife and renewal. So much so that they have dedicated the god Ketri. Their god Ketri has a scarab beetle head. And the scarab beetle is in most of their artwork. And they have their god Ketri pushes the sun across the sky, rolls it across the sky, buries it, in the west so that it can be reborn in the east. And in the Egyptian artwork, Ketri is holding the sun, pushing the sun with his front legs, not his back legs like dung beetles do. And that caused a lot of confusion when they were interpreting things, until they figured out there was a flower that looked like a sunburst that these things fed on. That dung beetles eat that flower, and it's a little purple flower with a bright yellow and white center that looks like a sun. And it may have been that they looked at that and said, that is why. That is the sun god. That is a perfect representation of the sun god pushing the sun across the sky. And so that would have been in the front legs instead of the back legs. The presenter who talked about that last night on the documentary that I was watching pointed out that the flower actually raises its own temperature to attract dung beetles. He said the Egyptians likely didn't know that, but they would have lost their minds had they known that, because it would have been proof to them of the similarities between him and his sun god counterpart. I was more curious to find out, and they didn't address, but I was more curious to find out how a flower managed to raise its temperature, but they didn't address it. Well, I got mosquitoes. I've got mosquitoes and gnats in my studio. I had my garage door open all day yesterday because I was redoing the Random Object Randomogrifier. And now I have mosquitoes and gnats swarming my studio. Yeah, the Egyptians would have lost their minds. My mom's in the chat room. Exactly. How does the flower know? The Egyptians would have lost their minds over that. I'm not sure I'm not losing my mind over it. All right. Not much of a drop shadow today. And this thing is kind of a really dark green. But let me dry it real quick because I've already got the drop shadow. This would have been a perfect toy to draw on a Tuesday. There's really not much to him. Have to keep the heat gun far enough away that it dries a bit, close enough that it dries a bit, far enough away that it doesn't blow the paint across the page or make the pages flip or knock my toy off the stage like it did the other day at the toucan. Nothing quite like watching paint dry. There's just nothing quite as exciting as watching paint dry. It takes me a minute for my eyes to get back into focus after that bright light. All right, I have a lot of water in my tray that I don't want to transfer to my drawing because we're going to have to run that hairdryer again. So that I can properly ink it. Yeah, do this just right so that you don't activate the paint underneath and mess up your shadows. I think we're done with the brush. I'm going to dry it one more time. So, scarab beetles include not only June bugs, they include the horned beetles, the ones with the rhinoceros horned beetle, the one with the ones with the big horns that come out. It includes June bugs. They are very good flyers. I remember in Iraq, was I 19 in Iraq? I was 19 in Iraq. I turned 20. No, I turned 20 just as we got to Iraq. When I discovered that these things flew, hadn't occurred to me before that they would fly until, you know, one of them flies at me. You learn something about yourself in those situations. One, I learned I don't like scarabs flying in my face. But at the time, I was not aware that June bugs are also in the scarab family. And if I had known that the June bugs were in the scarab family, then I would have obviously known that June bugs are really good flyers, because I have taken very many June bugs to the chest at night while riding my motorcycle. And I took a June bug to the chest one time at 75 miles an hour, and I thought I'd been shot. They breed by laying their eggs in balls of poop. That is why they gather the poop, they roll it around, they lay their eggs in it, bury the poop, their young hatch from the poop. Mom says June bugs feel sticky when they land on you. Yes, they do. But they're young hatch from the poop, and then they eat the poop. And then what poop is left after the fact goes on to fertilize the land. Scarabs were so popular in Egyptian culture at the time that many of their neighboring communities that were doing business with them adopted scarabs. in their currency and their communication and their artwork. And even today, you can go to almost any nature shop and you can find scarab artwork. Because they were just that important to the Egyptians that the artwork, the symbolism persists. Which is pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. Anyway, I'm calling it before I overwork it. What time is it anyway? 5:58. So let's see how we did compared to the photo reference. Now let's see how it works out. From the phone, from my perspective, which is just a little different than what the camera took last night. Not much different, just a little different. So you can see there how we ended up. Guys, anyway, thank you so much for joining me. You know I look forward to this every day. This is my 30 minutes of art therapy that I do every day. My 30 minutes to improve, my 30 minutes to learn and discuss something new every day. Actually, it's only 30 minutes for you guys. For me, it's like 3 hours I spend watching documentaries and reading books and reading Wikipedia pages. I have a lot of fun. Scrolling through and learning about these things and going down rabbit holes. And I would have never known that June bugs and horned beetles and rhinoceros beetles were all part of the scarab family if I hadn't taken the time to watch that 30-minute presentation. The guy was talking about how the flowers warm themselves up to attract the June bugs, and he says we have a similar phenomenon here in the United States where Arizona warms up and brings all the Coloradans in during the winter time. So I thought that was kind of funny. I laughed out loud at that. But guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow, same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing. That way I know that the lag has caught up with the stream and we